I don't think anyone knows what's going on in China right now. I'm not even sure they know. I also think it's really hard to go and predict, next month and next quarter. I think you invest with bigger views in mind, and I think the big view is that there's 6 billion people that want the same energy consumption per capita that a billion of us have, and most of those 6 billion people don't yet have refrigeration or air conditioning. There's a long way to go. And those people are discovering that they like energy consumption, and they're getting mopeds and scooters and small cars, and they're just going to continue going up that curve in terms of energy consumption. And people like to fixate on China, but look what's happening in India and Africa. All of Southeast Asia, you have huge populations that are suddenly getting access to energy, and they're consuming it. And I think that's the bigger picture, and that's why I think also a lot of these acronyms that try to estimate global consumption continue to underestimate consumption. They have to keep putting it into, what do they call it, the other category, or because they can't make the numbers balance. They can track reasonably well the production numbers, but they can't figure out where all the oil went. And I think it's disappearing into mopeds in India. Either you guys want to?
Yeah, here, I'll jump on that. So, there's a GDP per capita number. There are some magic numbers. As you get to that sort of $2,000 to $3,000 per person of GDP, you start to see some initial hydrocarbon consumption, and then I think it's when you get sort of to that $8,000 to $10,000 US dollars, and again, the purchasing power equivalency is it makes it a little more complicated, but you end up seeing people start doing things like Kuppy was saying in terms of buying gas-powered scooters or other sort of very basic hydrocarbon consuming, typically they're initially economic drivers, so they're things that let farmers bring their crops to market, let craftsmen kind of get to sites much more efficiently. But then you also see air conditioning, you see indoor fuel, so using propane instead of burning dung or burning wood dramatically extends people's lifespans, improves their lungs and other their general health. And so you see these sort of GDP per capita, they're helpful from a heuristic perspective. But when you hit that level, it almost doesn't matter if you grow a lot more than that from a GDP perspective, because you just end up seeing a lot of the incremental cash going towards consumption of hydrocarbons and hydrocarbon consuming products to improve people's lives. And so what happens in China, as long as there's not a complete collapse of China, and the regime there is pretty aligned with their economy not completely imploding, and again, really hard to say, who knows what's happening, they don't seem to know maybe either, but as long as there's not a complete collapse there, even if GDP stopped growing materially there, with their population not really growing as well, you could still see a material inflection in hydrocarbon consumption there, even again without material economic growth. So you just need countries to get to sort of a base level of economic activity, and once they get to that base level, you see people just choosing to have a car or a gas-powered scooter or to use Uber or whatever, having air conditioning, having indoor clean burning fuel, and these things are really the big demand drivers.